welcome to Shooting the Shit with Susan. Today is our very first deep dive of the year that I've been letting y'all know is on the way. Our topic for this month and the next coming weeks is sexual vitality at midlife. And I am so excited to have my deep dive guest here, Sam Itaki he is the CEO of the Dr. Joe Kaplan Company, but more well known as Mr. Get Bigger Now. So, which I just love that. That's great. So we're going to be diving in today talking about both men's vitality as well as women's sexual vitality. And I came on here with you guys a few weeks back and I talked about penis pumps and pussy pumps, vulva pumps. And I think I actually brought mine on camera and I showed everybody, Sam. It was really great. So we're going to talk a little bit today about these. And Sam is really just an amazing expert on this topic. And Sam, you do such a great job at really like normalizing the conversation on this so that it doesn't have to be something. It's kind of like there's a little stigma around pumps, wouldn't you say? Like they get kind of, made jokes around and we're
Exactly. Yes.
we're gonna have some fun shit shooting on this topic today and hopefully make it like not such a scary topic for everybody out there who's joining in. And thank you so much. I see y'all joining in here live. Real quick, before we dive in today with Sam, I do want to remind everybody that the Pleasure Revival Experience opens for enrollment today. That's my sexual vitality course for women at midlife. Our enrollment is open. So if you head over to susanmorgantaylor.com/revival, you can check that out there and see if you want to jump in. We're getting started on February 7th. So any women out there who want to maintain what they have or revive what they've lost, that course is for you. And today's conversation with Sam is also for you because these pumps are really a game changer. And a lot of what I teach in the course is how we maintain the internal part of our sex organs. What Sam is so amazing at and the pumps are so great at is what do we do about the external parts on the woman's body? What do we do about the labia, the stuff that is a little bit trickier where a lot of women do start to have challenges in that area as we go through that midlife transition and beyond. And so Sam and I are going to shoot the shit on that and help you guys understand why these pumps are so amazing. And we'll talk also about men's sexual health. I know I've got a lot of male subscribers here who run into some of those common challenges that men tend to face with aging. Well, we've got a great conversation happening today and a wonderful solution. And I'm so excited. Sam, welcome to the deep dive Shooting the Shit with Susan.
Thank you for having me, Susan. I'm very excited to be here.
Yes. Well, let's just talk about, first of all, like, let's let our listeners, our people here know kind of what you do and talk to us about these pumps. And what is that the right terminology too? I'm just calling them pumps because it's not just a penis pump. We've got vulva pumps. So maybe you could just kind of like, let's lay the foundation here for our conversation so our listeners can come along with us on this ride.
Sure. So just briefly again, my name is Sam Itaki. I'm known as Mr. Get Bigger Now. I am the CEO of the Dr. Joel Kaplan Company, and I've helped over 100,000 men increase performance and erectile fitness in the bedroom. As far as what pumps are, so pumps use gentle suction to draw blood flow to either the penis, if it's a penis pump, or to the vulva, the clitoris, the labia, this whole region in the case of the vulva pump. And blood flow is extremely important because as we age, blood flow decreases, right? We encounter some hormonal changes, nitric oxide production decreases. So we have some changes that happen with age, and that really affects our sexual fitness negatively.
Yeah.
And it's something that happens to everyone. I think
Yeah.
that's also important to note. It's no one gets away without it. Um,
We all think we will when we're young. And then all of a sudden you have that moment like,
exactly.
oh no.
Yes. In our 20s, we feel invincible. Like there are no issues whatsoever. Mortality is not on our mind. But
Yeah.
as we get older, we start to feel the slow decay.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and it happens to everyone at different rates, of course, right? So some people feel great in their 40s. It just means that they're aging slower, and that's a great thing. And I think that's pretty much the goal, right? When it comes to health, not just lifespan, but health span,
Yeah.
and sexual health span. You
Yeah.
want to basically slow down aging. You can run away from it, but you want to slow it down.
Slow it down. Yeah. Well, and I think you bring up a really important point around blood flow. And what I No, and what the research shows, this is true, I think, for men's health as well as women's sexual
Mhm.
health. We have this overemphasis on it's just hormones, right? Oh, you're going through menopause, just get on the hormones. Or you're getting older, just go on the testosterone. That's going to somehow solve some of these sexual challenges that we're having. However, what they're not telling us, and what most people don't know, is like blood flow is really at the core of our sexual health. It's at the core of keeping those tissues supple, revitalized, collagen production, helping with things like erections in both the male and the female body. Women, we get
Yes,
erections
exactly.
too. We get erections
Mhm.
too. Yes. And it helps, as you said, as we age, the blood vessels shrink and we don't get as much blood flow to that region. We have a very sedentary lifestyle. And we get, I don't know what they call it in men's sexual health, but for women to atrophy, like vaginal atrophy, clitoral atrophy, where everything just shrivels, dries out, and
Yep,
flattens up. And blood,
exactly.
there are scientific studies that I just discovered and read about that actually prove that when we work with the musculature of our, what I call the pleasure core, it's the pelvic floor muscles, that we actually can get, we can reverse the vaginal dryness that tends to happen. Now, that's helping the inside of the
Yes.
vagina. But why I love these pumps is because that helps us with the actual external genitalia for the woman's body. And I know it functions a little bit differently in men, but maybe you could speak to that about how these pumps kind of function differently for men versus women.
I would love to do that. I also think it's important to actually show the similarities because, like you
Okay.
said, women get erections too. And so, yeah, blood flow is a very important factor when it comes to sexual function, sexual wellness, mainly because of atrophy. So
Yeah.
when we lose blood flow, when the blood vessels in the genitalia shrink, it applies both for men and women. So for men, you have about 50% of men who report that they have some form of erectile dysfunction by the age of 50. And I'm not referring to the complete inability to get it up.
Yeah.
It can be just, a difference in erection rigidity, right? Like a softer erection.
Sure.
So that's half the men. So just imagine two men that you know in your life.
Yeah.
Likely one of them has some form of erectile dysfunction if they're around the age of 50 or
Wow.
older. And the same thing applies to women.
Yeah.
When atrophy happens to women, they lose their version of erection, right? So when women are aroused, much like men, there's a lot of blood flow happens, blood flow increases to the genital area. For men, it leads to an erection. For women, it also leads to an erection. Your labia, your clitoris, this whole region gets engorged with blood and becomes sensitive, just like the penis, right? So the erectile tissue is pretty much the same. It's just arranged differently,
Yes.
right? So for men, it's all out basically, right?
Yeah.
Um, and the mechanism is very sensitive to blood flow. And for women, it's a little more spread out, but it's the same mechanism:
Yeah.
engorgement, arousal, sensitivity to touch, right? All of that.
Mhm.
And so blood flow, by restoring blood flow regularly, not just one time,
Yeah.
you basically reverse atrophy.
Which is so amazing because we tend to think it's just a death sentence, right? And you just have atrophy. And it's just like, that's the end. Whoops, we're done. Try it out and it's over. Or, the default, and this is maybe more so for women, like the use of creams, like estrogen creams, which can be really useful for that part of the body, keeping the tissue strong and healthy. But it's not, we're going to do much in terms of really, you have to continue to use the cream all the time too. So you're sort of dependent on that
Right.
cream. And that's not necessarily doing as much for the blood flow as doing something like using the pumps, for example, or doing pelvic core training where we're strengthening the muscles, right?
Yeah, so I think it's a personal choice whether or not someone wants to do hormonal replacement therapy. I'm not against it or for it. I just think people need to understand that it's one of the tools in your toolbox, and more importantly, people need to understand the pros and cons of it, right?
Yeah.
So if you once you start using it, it's very hard to come off it, and you really shouldn't, right?
Right.
Because your body slows down its own production of that hormone that
Yes.
you're replacing. So there are some downsides, and of course there are upsides too.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a personal choice. But like you said, it's not something that's going to completely reverse atrophy.
Right.
So
But it's true for men and men. More testosterone doesn't lead to more erections because erections are largely a blood flow event, if I understand that correctly. So testosterone
right.
helps with libido and the energy and the mood, but not necessarily with the erection challenges that some of these men are having.
Exactly. Testosterone definitely has a role in erections, but yeah, it's really by far like the biggest part of an erection is blood flow, and you see what medications like Viagra or Cialis do, right? They
Yeah,
prevent the restriction of blood vessels,
yeah,
right? And that leads to better erections. And so that's one way of taking care of things, but that's not available for women,
right.
and it's a band-aid anyway. It's
Yeah,
a treatment, not a cure. You're not really, you're not addressing the root cause of the problem, which is atrophy. um,
exactly.
when it comes to sexual wellness, atrophy affects both, but you mentioned how it affects women more. I think atrophy in general, it's important to look at atrophy in general. We all lose muscle mass as we age, right? And
Yeah.
so you can either slowly, shrivel and shrink, or you can do something about it and you can stay active and increase your activity level. I am the strongest I've ever been in my life, and I'm approaching 40. Okay, I'm just stronger than I was in my 20s because I believe that every day is an opportunity for growth,
Yeah.
and that means physically too. So
Yeah.
I do my exercises.
Yeah.
So you can either let aging, you can either just let it happen and slowly decay, or you can do something about it, right?
Well, yeah, and that's the mindset shift we have to make. I think, when you can't just sort of lean back and be passive as you start to go into your 40s and 50s and beyond, because the natural process of aging happens. So, literally, y'all, we have to actually take action. We have to do something. And I think it's important to note that it's great to get started earlier before you really
Yes.
need to do something. But I think what you're saying, and also what I really want to get across, is that we can reverse, even if you've already sort of started to have some of those that atrophy
Yes.
happen or the negative impacts of, let's say, the menopause transition for women, we can actually reverse some of the impact of that by actually doing something about it. And so these pumps that we're talking about is one thing. For us just a minute, I want to invite everybody here joining us live. If you've got questions for Sam or myself today on this topic, you can drop them down here in the chat. I'll try to scroll over there and take a look as we're moving through our conversation today. And if you don't want to drop it in the chat, you can always send me a private message or join our thread and drop your questions in there, and we'll make sure that myself or Sam get back to you with some answers on that. But we'd love to have a live conversation going on here with everyone who's joining us live. It's so good to see y'all. Thanks for being here. Sam, you have a really cool, what I would love if you're comfortable sharing. Like, I actually love your story because I think you said, and I can't remember the exact age, but you're like every man over the age of 30 or over the age of 25. Like, what is it should be pumping? So we think pumps, penis pumps, for example, are like, oh, that's just for like old men or people who've had prostate removal. But you're saying like, no. So like men should, and even women probably too. It'd be great for us to start maybe sooner than later. But can you tell a little bit about your story and like when you started pumping, why you started pumping, and did you do it because you needed to or because you wanted to, or like tell us about that? Because I think this is so much fun. I think it'd be great for our listeners to hear.
Sure. So, yeah, my story is definitely a little different. It wasn't, in the sense that it wasn't really a part of, like, I didn't have an issue. For me, it started out of curiosity. So I consider myself a biohacker. I enjoy trying new things that can enhance my body in any way, shape, or form, right? It can be a mindset thing, it can be a physical thing. Um, just learning in general, right? So learning and applying things to enhance myself in general. And so one day, out of curiosity and boredom, I decided to walk into an adult store for the first time in my life, and I was about 20 years old. Um, so I had the weekend for myself, and I want to try something fun. So I walk in and not really knowing what I was going to get, I figured I'll just explore and get something fun for the weekend. Now, most guys would probably get a masturbator, And maybe I would have too, but as soon as I walk in, I see this giant penis pump. It was like this big. Um, yeah, and I thought it was hilarious because it just seemed so abnormal to for someone to have a penis of that size. So I thought it was hilarious, but also I was curious about it. Right, I knew nothing about it at the time, so I ended up getting it. And, like I said, pumps basically draw blood flow to the penis. So if someone doesn't have an erection and has zero arousal, if they just put it on and start using it, it will create an erection. And that's exactly what happened to me. I put it on and I see my penis gets bigger and bigger and bigger in the tube. Um, almost without limits. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there is a limit, but uh, you can actually get temporarily and immediately bigger than your normal erection size. You can go to like 110, 120% of your size. Um,
Well, isn't that well, I gotta just pause you on that part because that's actually kind of part of the fun for men when they do and actually for women too, it looks pretty trippy, like, when I'm doing my vulva pump, like, "Wow, that's kinda weird," but I know my partner loves that part of it, like, the visual part of it. Like, you're literally sitting there literally watching your cock, like, grow. Like,
yeah, exactly.
huge,
Yeah,
like,
it's
"What's
it's
up?"
a really
It's
cool experience.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, and I think a lot of couples think it's hot, and that's something I wish more people knew
Yeah.
because I like I said I've helped over 100,000 men, and I've heard so many times how men feel shame about, so they don't know their wife or girlfriend to know about, and it's not the right way to go about it.
No, I agree.
Bring it in as part of your sex life. You know, be playful about, be fun about. It doesn't the framing doesn't have to be, oh, I need to fix something, right?
Right.
It's more about the exploration of it. It's more about the enhancement of things, and staying healthy, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
let's eat healthy together.
It's
You
a
know,
yeah,
it's
and I like that you frame it that way because you're right, there is so much shame around, like, "Oh, I need this thing so that I can be normal or get hard," and we don't. Like, there's too much shame around our genitals
Mhm.
anyway in general. Men get shamed either way you go. They get shamed for having an erection, they get shamed for not having one.
That's true.
Right?
Yes,
So, yeah,
that's
like,
so true.
taking away that shame, I think the partnered pumping is so fun. Like, when my partner
Yeah.
and I do it, we have a great time, it's just kind of this funny little fun thing that we do, and we giggle and laugh, and,
You
yeah,
know the saying, couples that pump together stay together.
yeah, that's so true. So yeah, so thank you for that, and more people are gonna know about it today that are tuning in, which is why we're doing this conversation, but so
Exactly.
there you are with this giant penis pump, like, watching your penis get, like, really huge, and you're like, "Wow, this is amazing," and you're in your 20s at this point, so, like, what was the progression of tell us about the progression of how you kinda jumped on this and continued to experiment and explore and what you discovered.
Yeah, so my experience was a little, let's just say, choppy. So that pump broke after 3 minutes. It was just
Oh,
cheap crap.
no.
Excuse my language. It
Yeah,
was cheap. It was essentially one of those sex toy pumps, right?
okay.
And that's one of the reasons why it's important to get a good quality pump. And there are more reasons actually,
Yeah,
which
let's
we'll get to
definitely
that.
talk about that when we get there
Yeah.
for sure, yeah.
But yeah, it broke after 3 minutes. And I was disappointed because my toy for the weekend broke. But I also saw what it can do, which got me very excited and motivated to, look into it a little more. So next, I got a water pump because it's just very popular. Um, I use it for a while, a couple of months. I actually end up hurting myself because those pumps don't have a gauge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that happened. And, I think a lot of people would have stopped at that point. Um, I just figured I'm not someone who gives up, you know. I'm someone who just asks why, right?
Yeah,
Why did it happen and what can I do to prevent it? So at that point I realized that I needed to do research, right? I don't want to hurt myself again. Um, that injury was temporary. It
thank
lasted about a week.
goodness.
I couldn't have sex for a week. But it was fine. It went back to normal. And so at that point I decided to do research. So I went on a deep dive for hours and hours on online forums. Believe it or not, there are online communities who like talk about this. This is all they talk about: penis enlargement, enhancement, erectile dysfunction, a lot about enlargement. And you have all those men who share anonymously, of course. They share their own journey, right? They literally write a log that on this date they're
Mm,
this big, and a few months later they're that big, and like a log, right?
yeah.
And those men have nothing to prove, and they have no interest other than helping other men. These are just regular, everyday people. Um, they're not people who try to sell you something. They're just sharing their experience and helping each other. And so I figured if I learn more about how those men pump, the ones who are very experienced, right? The ones who have 10 or 20 years of pumping experience, I figured that I'll be successful. And, of course, I won't injure myself. That's the main thing. Um, and so I noticed that a lot of those men who are pumping regularly were recommending a specific pump, a Dr. Joel Kaplan pump. That's the brand name. So I ended up buying it. It's very different than everything else. We don't need to get into it. But I start using it, and for the first time, I actually saw results.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Now
You
the
had tried up
people
to this point, you had tried multiple different pumps, and one of them
Mhm.
injured you, the first one broke, some were just kinda
Exactly.
temporary, but then you used this one, and it was and I do
Mhm.
wanna talk about how it's different because I think that anybody out there who's thinking about getting one of these or using one should know what to look out for. I'm sure there's other
Exactly.
reputable out
Mhm.
there, but my understanding, why I love the one that you guys create for a number of reasons because I do think it is the safest thing out there. It's well made, but I think that you could speak to that just to help people be able to make a decision for themselves and to know what to look out for. I do think we should talk
Yes.
about that. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I will talk about what people should look for, and I'll also say why I think mine is the best. Um, Yeah, so, so that was the first time I start seeing results, which was great. Now the crazy twist is that, I'm using it for about 2 years. It's my favorite pump. And, I'm very educated at that point about male enhancement. It wasn't the only thing I've tried, meaning
Okay.
pumps, right? I've tried many different products, but that was my favorite. And about 2 years later, I find out that the founder of the company that makes my favorite pump is a family member, which is crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
What?
yeah. So my wife had a long lost uncle. There was some rift in the family like 30 years ago, and one side of the family didn't speak with the other. And so she didn't grow up knowing him. She didn't know his name or anything about it.
Oh my
I
god.
knew there was a rift in the family, but I didn't know anything about the other side. And so one day, my wife tells me, "Hey, we're gonna the two sides of the family are gonna make amends. We're gonna do nice, and we're gonna get to know everybody." So I'm introduced to Dr. Joel Kaplan,
This
the
is
guy who
weird.
made my pump.
Oh my gosh. You're like and next to now you're like unifying the family. Like
Yeah,
without even knowing it. That's crazy. Oh my goodness. Okay. So what happened next?
so obviously I was a little shocked, but it was amazing to meet him. We had so much to talk about, male enhancement. I told him about my journey,
Mm,
of trying different pumps, about what I've learned, about other products. So we had a lot to talk about. And I eventually became the CEO of the company.
what?
I It just made sense. He
That's
was ready to retire, and I was so knowledgeable about the topic. And I really loved the idea of helping other people
yeah.
with what I already know,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so I eventually became the CEO of the company, and I've helped over 100,000 men
Yeah.
to use those type of male enhancement tools and to increase their performance in bed.
Yeah. And how soon do you think? Because what was the age? I remember you saying something, every man over the age of whatever should be pumping regularly. What was the age that you gave on that?
Um, Definitely, I would recommend off the age of 30, but definitely 35. I
Yeah.
would equate it to brushing your teeth, right?
Okay.
People don't brush like everyone brush their teeth.
Yeah.
Um, People don't brush their teeth because they have cavities, right? So people shouldn't pump
Prevention.
because to reverse atrophy. People
Yeah.
brush their teeth to prevent cap.
Prevent it.
Right?
Yeah,
Prevention is key. It's way more effective.
yeah,
It just works better. So this should be treated the same way. You
yeah.
want to use a pump if you want to get bigger, you can use an enlargement protocol, which is higher intensity or pressure. You
Okay.
can use it more often. But even if you don't care to gain size, which it's rare, let's
Well,
just put it
it
this way.
doesn't.
Exactly. Uh,
Well,
and
let's
it's not just size, it's erection rigidity, it's size, um, it's how quickly you get an erection, right? When you think
sure.
about when you think about the degradation in sexual performance, in the case of men, erectile performance,
Mhm.
in our 20s, you barely need any stimulation. It's not
Right.
meant to just get an erection for no reason,
Yeah.
right? Or very little stimulation creates basically the wind blows the wrong way and you get an
Yeah.
erection. And every decade, as time passes by, every decade it just gets worse and worse,
Yeah.
right? And that's something that everyone experiences. Even I've spoken to so many men who will not admit that they have a problem, and
Right.
that's okay. Maybe they're ashamed, maybe they don't identify as someone who has a problem, and that's okay, right? Because they can get it up. Um, but even when they tell me I don't have a problem, all I have to do is ask them, okay, tell me this. How would you compare your erection now compared to when you were 20? Is it the
Oh,
same, better, or worse? And 100% of the time, they tell me it's worse,
yeah.
even by a little bit, but it's worse.
Yeah.
It's because that's what happened with
That's
aging.
what happens. Well, I wanna talk about women. So I have a lot of questions about the do we call them vulva pumps? I know you call the lady pump, I think, for your
Mhm.
brand, but what are
Yes.
they? Vulva pumps, pussy pumps, lady pump?
So we have a few different cups or cylinders. So just a quick brief
Okay, there
overview.
we go.
This is the penis pump. Don't
Okay.
let it intimidate you. This is just, let's call it potential.
Potential.
Um,
Look at that.
9 inches in length. No one needs 9 inches. That's not what I'm saying. But some men are bigger than others, and we want to give everyone the potential to grow if they want to. So that's the penis pumps. And then for women, we have two different cylinders or cups. We
Yeah.
have the vulva cups, which is shaped to fit the vulva,
Yeah.
and we have a clitoris cylinder, which is a very small cylinder um, designed to be placed over the clitoris and just engorge it with blood. Um, so I'm sorry, what was your question?
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you showed that. So y'all don't need to be scared. You just saw one now for the first time. And just as a reminder, thank you for joining us live. I've got Sam Itaki here, CEO of the Joe Kaplan Company, Mr. Get Bigger. Now we're talking about penis pumps and pussy pumps, y'all. It's good
Fun
conversation.
stuff.
Yeah, and well, because with women, like I pussy pumps, when did they come on around? Like when did they become a thing? Because that's not something that I've even as a sex educator have heard that much about, and I'm kinda curious, is that like a newer thing to market, or have they been around just as long as a penis pump?
So penis pump have definitely been around for much, much longer. I mean,
Sure.
they go back hundreds of years. If you want to go to like the origin of it,
Oh, yeah, where
um,
did it go back to? What's the first origination of a penis
I
pump?
believe it was like the
Okay.
1800s,
Okay,
hundreds.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's their documentation of men trying to enlarge their penis for hundreds and hundreds of years, even before the penis pump attempts, let's call
Yeah.
it. Men were like tying bricks to their penis with a rope and trying
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
elongate it. There's actually it's not a religion, but it's a practice of men who did this. Kind of like Buddhism.
Yes.
There are a group of people who like taught this and passed it on from generation to generation, the ability to increase penile size. I mean, things were different back then, obviously. But yeah, but penis pumps in the current form have existed for decades. They were used before Viagra and Cialis even existed to treat erectile dysfunction, and they are FDA approved to
Okay,
treat erectile dysfunction by bringing blood flow to the penis. Right,
okay.
so the gentle vacuum just mechanically draws blood. You need to be aroused. It works for. It's actually the most effective solution for people who can get an erection. And a good example would be people who have their prostate removed.
Mm,
Viagra and Cialis won't help them because it's not a blood flow issue; it's a nerve ending issue.
okay.
Usually, a nerve gets damaged or cut,
Gotcha, okay.
and so they just can't get an erection, and no amount of um, increase in general blood flow will change that.
Okay.
When you put a pump on and you create vacuum around the penis,
Yeah.
there's no other way for the blood, but to get into the penis. It just mechanically draws blood to the penis. So it's
Got it.
extremely effective for that.
Well, that's awesome because someone did ask that in our thread. I've got a thread,
Okay.
y'all. If you want to jump in there, everyone who's watching, you've got topics you want me to do a deep dive on, drop it into our thread. But someone did write in about what do they do because they had prostate surgery and how I can't get erection. So what can I do? And so I didn't know that the pumps are actually a great solution for that.
Yes.
But here's the thing, for women, we're not really worried about having bigger labia or bigger pussies. Like isn't really the thing that most of us women are concerned with. I think it comes down to, I'm just guessing here, but you can tell me what you have discovered. It's more about like sensitivity, like being able to feel stuff down there again. Because as we age, obviously, estrogen decline can reduce sensitivity as well as the lack of
Right.
blood flow to our genitals. So I think the pump for women, the reasons why a woman might use the pump might be different than why a man might, right?
Yes, so a lot of men use the pump for enlargement, but there's a nice amount of men who just use it to prevent and reverse atrophy, and so that use case in men would basically equate to the use case for women, and it's
Yeah.
just a slightly different protocol. You basically use lower pressure. You don't need to do it as many times per week, just once or twice a week, for about
Oh, I
10
didn't know
minutes.
that. Okay, that's great. Because I know for
Yeah.
men, it's like every other day, correct, is what you recommend. Not
If
you to
if you
overcome.
want Yes. So if you want higher intensity, if you want to either reverse atrophy faster, if you want enlargement, yeah, the recommendation is 3 times a week or every other day, for about between 10 and 20 minutes, and
Okay.
you do 2 sessions. So
Sessions. Okay.
essentially, the total is between 20 to 40 minutes every day that you pump, which is every other day. But you don't have to take it that far if you don't want to, right? If you just want to, let's say, prevent atrophy or maybe slightly reverse it, you can just do it twice a week for about
Okay.
10 minutes just to
Oh,
bring
okay.
blood flow to the region.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing for women. So as women age, they lose blood flow down there, right?
Yeah.
Which leads to just less sensitivity,
Yeah.
and less sensitivity leads to less arousal, and
Yep.
less arousal leads to less sex. And now we are, it's now it's a snowball at that point because
Yes.
now you're
Yeah.
having less sex, and so your genitals don't get engorged with blood,
Yep.
which leads to even more atrophy. It's now a cycle,
Yeah.
and so it's important to stop this cycle at its tracks, as soon as you can. If you can prevent it at the age of 30 or 35, you should
Yeah.
definitely do that. But if you start later, that's fine. It's better late than never, and I would argue that it's never too late to start because you
Yeah.
can always reverse atrophy.
Sure.
So yeah, so women use it mainly for sensitivity, arousal, and natural lubrication. That's another thing that usually happens due to hormonal changes. And if I'm being completely honest, this won't fix your hormones, right?
No, but
So
it
yeah,
does help
exactly.
with lubrication.
Yeah, exactly. It does help, right? So if your natural lubrication is terrible, it's not going to completely reverse it. That's something that has to be addressed, hormonally, but it will make a difference. And it will improve it.
Yeah.
And so that's actually something that happens to my wife after birth. She was
Yeah.
extremely dry.
Oh, wow.
We could barely have sex,
Oh,
without lube. Yeah, but it's fine. She, used the pump. We have plenty of those. We have a warehouse full of them. Free supply for life.
yeah,
Uh,
that's great. Yeah, because right, so I have for those listening, I'm teaching a class that, a course coming up here where I'm going to teach women actually how to do vaginal, like Pilates for your vagina, basically. We're really working the deep, musculature of the pelvic core, and there's science behind that shows that it's really the blood pressure that creates the transudate. Transudate is what it's called. The vaginal lubrication is actually called, it's a blood flow event. It's not necessarily dependent on hormones. Hormones obviously have an impact, but we can take control of it
mm,
by actually taking control of things like the blood flow. If we can take control of blood flow, we can often resolve the dryness. And that's true. They've done studies on postmenopausal women who have the lowered, the lowered
Yep.
estrogen, and significant increase, an immediate increase just by doing pelvic core work and actual vaginal, like really actually doing the muscles of, that surround the vagina and stuff. So what I think is neat about the pumps is that, it's a holistic approach that works the external genitalia, because we can do the internal stuff again through certain practices and exercises. But I think the pump is great for that external piece. And like you said, it reverses the vaginal dryness.
Mhm.
Yeah. So anyone who's watching, if you're interested in joining me for the course, it's the Pleasure Revival Experience. And we just opened enrollment on that today. You can check it out at susanmorgantailer.com/revival. It's a course for women. We're starting in about a week. So I'd love that anyone who wants to reverse the atrophy, maintain what you've got. If you're at midlife or beyond midlife, you'd be possibly a great fit for that. So go check it out. We'd love to have you. So Sam, I have some more questions for you about these pumps, and these are a
Yeah.
couple questions that actually came in from some of my subscribers. One person actually asked about transgender. So people that have had surgery, do these pumps, the gender reassignment surgery, do these pumps help for those people
Well,
as
from
well?
which gender to which gender?
I don't remember, which direction this person had transitioned. I'd have to look back at the thread, but let's just talk about both. So let's say you went from, female to male. Can it help with it's gonna help with blood flow regardless, which I imagine is always gonna be a good thing, but let's just say you went from female to male. Will it help, a transgender man get an erection?
So, I would say for anyone who went, undergone surgery, they should definitely ask the doctor first before using pumps or anything like that,
Sure.
um, because the last thing you want to do is, create a problem, right? They may need to wait a little bit right after the surgery, or not. So that's the thing.
Okay.
Um, there are plenty of cases where, in the case of men, for example, when they get their prostate removed, the recommendation is actually to use a pump immediately because
Okay.
when you do this, you can actually rehabilitate the nerve endings. And there are cases where men actually it actually prevents that nerve loss, right? And so men who use a pump immediately would actually be able to get an erection without the pump
Oh,
after prostate surgery.
that's
Yes,
amazing.
so that's a recommendation for that. I'm not too familiar with transgender
Yeah.
reassignment surgeries, but I have gotten some feedback from people who done those surgeries. At least from people who went from female to male,
Mhm.
and so they actually use the clitoris pump.
Okay.
Um, and so yeah, they use it for blood flow, but the ones I personally spoke with actually try to enlarge the clitoris.
Okay. Huh.
So they use it on a higher pressure,
Okay.
more times per week. In a way, they basically use it like the penis pump, but they
Gotcha.
use it on their clitoris.
Interesting.
From what I hear, it works to enlarge your clitoris too if you
Okay.
go with a high enough intensity.
I
I don't
see.
have a ton of data on it to
Yeah.
run a statistical model, but I have quite a few case studies where they really enjoy it and they do see results.
Great. Yeah, and absolutely check with your doctor if that's anybody out there who's
Yes.
watching, and because I don't really know either. That's not really a population that I work extensively with in my, sex therapy practice, but, it seemed like the blood flow could be potentially a really beneficial thing even just for scar tissue and, like you
Right.
said, nerve regeneration, which,
Mhm.
yeah, so definitely check with your doctor on that, whoever asked that question, thanks for asking. And I do have another question that came through around the lube, so I know that you recommend that you use lube when you use the pumps, you use some lube, and, can we talk about that? Like, do you have to use? What's the purpose of using the lube for the pumps? Like, why do you have to use lube at all? What types of lube should you use or should you not use when you're doing the pumping?
Okay, so when it comes to lube, the main reason, there are actually two reasons why I use it. One is it helps with getting a vacuum seal, right? So if you pump and air goes into the tube, you basically lose pressure. Now, my pump will just, recover from it, will just automatically turn on to maintain the pressure, um, but it's still annoying. And so you want to use lube to help with the vacuum seal.
Okay.
But more importantly, the second reason is it's really for comfort. So when you use either the penis pump or the lady pump, what will happen is the skin will go against the cylinder or the cup, and
Yeah.
that can cause discomfort. If it's, in an extreme case, it will be a little red. It's not a big deal, but it can cause discomfort.
Yeah.
And so the recommendation is to use plenty of lube on your genital and in the cylinder or cup.
Okay, good
Um,
deal. Yeah, because my partner doesn't like the lube, and he's had those moments of like, "Ah!" And I'm like, "Babe, you need to use the lube. That's why you're supposed to use the lube."
Honestly, I most of the time I don't use lube. I only use lube if I use it on a higher pressure,
Okay,
right?
gotcha.
So if I'm just doing a quick maintenance, put a pump on low pressure and check my email, that uh, for that I don't use lube. It's just I don't want to have to clean it up
A
after.
mess. Yeah,
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 but
yeah.
when I
Water-based
do a
lube.
real session, it's definitely important to use lube.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Okay, so just like a little
Oh, and
quickie, maybe you're
and
okay
as
without
far
it.
yeah, exactly.
While you're
And when it
checking
comes
your
to yeah, oh yeah, I do it all the time. Um, actually, I have a funnier story, but let me just tell you. I'll just finish telling you about the lube. As far as the type of lube, you want to use water-based lube,
Okay.
or you can use silicone-based.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, Basically, never use oil-based lube. So don't use any sort of oil. Don't use Vaseline or anything like
Okay.
that, because oil damages plastic, right? And our cylinders are made of polycarbonate, which is an extremely strong plastic, medical grade. But plastic is plastic, so oil and plastic just don't mix. It will damage the cylinder over time.
Okay.
So that's the recommendation. Um, I usually uh, I usually use either water-based or silicone. I lean towards the silicone because it just never dries.
Yeah, I
Right?
love the silicone lubes for that reason
Yeah,
too. They're not
you need
as
very little.
yeah,
Yeah.
good. Great.
Yeah. So
Or what's
we have Pumpers Lube. It's an extremely good value. You get like a pound of lube for like
yeah,
$25.
finally.
We sell it in bulk.
I bet you do.
Um, yeah. Um, yeah, and the other funny story I want to tell you is, so before I knew this was my let's call it life's mission, which I kind of fell on. I didn't
Yeah.
expect this to be my life's mission. I am a software engineer, and so before I did all of that, before I became the CEO of the company, and uh, it was about like 15 to 20 years ago, I was not only using a pump, I was using other male enhancement products. And one of my favorite product is a penile extender. It's basically something that keeps the penis flaccid but stretched.
Okay.
Think about your boyfriend just stretching his penis with his fingers. It's kind of like that, but you can do it for hours a day with breaks, of course. And it works amazing for length,
Wow.
which guys really care about length.
Yeah.
So yeah. So anyway, back in the days as a software engineer, I used to sit a lot, most of the day, and program. And so I would sit in an office, right, where I worked with other people around me, programming and wearing an extender for hours. And no one knows, every 30 minutes you go to the bathroom to remove it. At 30 minutes later, you put it back on. Yeah, it worked for me a little too well, if I might add.
A little too well. Yeah, what'd your wife think?
Oh, she begged me to stop after like 5 weeks.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm so curious about that because, so the pumping itself helps with girth and then the extender helps with length. Just in
So,
case
so pumps really work with both, but
okay.
you see girth very quickly,
Okay.
and you see length a little later.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's just something that takes a little longer. It also you may not notice it because as the penis gets girthier, it doesn't look as long. That's another thing, especially at
Oh,
the
good point.
beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, but actually the average gain. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with my app, but about 5 or 6 years ago, I created an app called Pump Smart.
Okay.
And fast forward to today, we have about 10,000 users, about 60,000 exercise logs, meaning people who use pumps, extenders, and other male enhancement devices. and we have close to 10,000 erection measurements, like performance. So
Okay.
we're talking about size, rigidity, sensitivity,
Okay.
and the average person who uses our pumps and the app gained 3/4 of an inch in length. And keep in mind that not everyone uh, remain on the program for the full year. It's very common for a man to just kind of give up after 6 months. I wouldn't call it give up because they clearly see a difference.
Yeah.
Maybe they care less about, some men obviously do continue, but the average is about 6 months, and men, the average gains is 3/4 of an inch in length and
Yeah,
about 20% girth.
wow. I mean, that's amazing. And those are just like the numbers right there. I mean, that's amazing. Anecdotal, but nonetheless, and self-reported.
I mean, you can argue it's anecdotal, yes, but it's also the largest study
Yeah,
in existence,
good
right?
point.
Because
Data.
and
The
that's
data doesn't
yeah,
lie.
exactly. So the reason why I created the app was because there is just so much skepticism about enlargement and about penis pumps, right? A lot of people just don't believe it works,
Yeah,
and that's okay. I don't judge them for that. Everyone gets spam emails. Take these
I
pills and
know.
you'll grow 5 inches in 3 days. It's like everyone knows it's bullshit.
Yeah,
Um, but I think because of that, people don't realize that there are actually things that work,
yeah,
things like penis pumps, right?
sure.
And so I created this app to prove to people that it does work,
Wow.
on an individual level and as a whole. And so what happened was I noticed that people who pumped, actually, one of the side effects was they remained motivated because they were noticing
Wow.
those gains that happen over time, right? Compared to men who didn't use the app
Mhm.
and use it for a few weeks, and they're like, I
Sure.
don't see enough, so they
Right,
stop using it.
right.
Um, yeah, but as I get more and more anonymous data from men who use it, one of the things I couldn't stand is reading another study, which there aren't that many of them, right? But another study of 25 men.
Oh, right.
It's like,
That's
can
like the
can we get a
minimum
little?
size. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, 25 is the absolute minimum for
yeah,
things to be statistically significant. And you know that most men want a better erection and most men want a bigger penis.
yeah.
And it's something that is so taboo and not talked about.
Right.
Um, you know, why aren't we talking about in the same way we talk about getting bigger at the gym? It's just another body parts.
That's
You want to get a bigger chest, bigger arm, bigger penis. Like, what's wrong with that? And and it's most men. I know for a fact that most men.
it's most men. Yes.
And so what? Those studies can't recruit more than 25 men?
Right?
Well, yes. So
Yeah.
I decided to change that, and there's nothing that comes nearly in size to the kind of data I have. And yeah, so
That
it
is
may be anecdotal, but it is more than statistically significant and
yeah, yeah,
the largest
10,000
study of its
is
kind.
a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is awesome. I'm so glad that you've created that. I had another question for you, and now it's escaping my brain. I can't think of it at the moment. What was it? Well, tell our
Why don't
listeners.
we talk about what people should look for in a pump?
Yes.
Because I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
important.
That is super important. Then I do wanna let
Mhm.
people know if they wanna find out more about where to get one of your pumps and how yours are different than some of the other and why that's good. Let's talk about that because I do think how do people make a decision on this?
Mhm.
Let's just help people with that, whether or not they're interested in yours or somebody else's. What should we look for?
Yeah. So let's start with what to look for in general. Um, the number one most important detail when you buy a penis pump is to get something with a gauge. And if you pay attention to what's out there by quantity, by numbers, most pumps do not have a gauge. Most
Okay.
pumps are sex toys. I would say that they are dangerous.
Okay.
Just think about if everybody drove out there without a speedometer. It would be chaos and
Yeah.
there would be accidents and injury. It's extremely important to know what pressure you're using when your
Okay.
penis is in the tube and you're using a penis pump.
Okay.
Because if the pressure is too high, you will injure yourself. That's something that happened to me, and trust me, You don't want to go there. You only get one penis in this lifetime, you know? And yes, most men want a bigger penis, but it's more important not to injure what you
True
have,
that. Yeah.
right? So yeah, that's number one. Uh, but also another thing to note is that if the pressure is too low, you won't see results, right? Or you won't see the kind of results you want.
Mhm,
If you want
mhm.
enlargement, you need slightly bigger pressure. So pressure is basically the intensity or the speed. It's extremely important.
Okay.
So that's number one. The other thing is a cylinder that is the right fit. A
Mhm.
cylinder that is too small or too big will create a problem.
Okay.
Now, most pumps out there come with an oversized cylinder. And the reason why they do this is because it really simplifies things. It essentially becomes a one size fits all. It's a giant
Okay.
cylinder which fits basically no one. But then they add another accessory, like a squishy sleeve or just a cushion at the base,
Okay.
um, and that makes it fit anyone because
Okay.
it's stretchy, right? So if someone is, it's a very small hole. If someone is small, it creates a vacuum pressure. If someone is bigger, it just gets stretched and accommodates them. So it does make it a one size fits all. It makes it easy, but it restricts blood flow, and that's something that people don't know.
It defeats the
And
purpose.
exactly, it's completely counterintuitive to what a pump does. A pump increases blood flow. You don't want to restrict blood flow to the penis when you use a pump. It
Sure.
just causes, it just lowers the efficacy by a lot. And it also just means that you're just straining your skin because
Mhm,
you're creating vacuum pressure, you're basically stretching your skin, and it takes so long for blood flow to enter the penis, right? And
mhm.
so it just remains on this high pressure and strain mode. So yeah, so choosing the right size is extremely important. So our pumps don't have that squishy part at the base. We do have it as an accessory if someone wants to buy it, but their recommendation goes against it, strongly against it.
Okay. Good to
Um, yeah, and so men should get the cylinder or tube that is right for them in size. If it's too small, what will happen is the cylinder will limit how far they can grow, right?
gotcha.
So you definitely want to have some space around between the penis and the cylinder wall,
Okay.
right? Um, if it's too big, it's going to be hard to maintain vacuum pressure because air is just going to go in, or it might kind of like suck in like the testicles, which is uncomfortable. And so you have to find that sweet spot between, a large enough cylinder where you have room for growth,
Okay.
but also you need to get a vacuum seal. So
Okay.
again, gauge is important. Get a pump without a squishy part that restricts blood flow at the base and the right cylinder. That's the second thing. It's also important to get a medical grade pump
Okay.
because there are so many pumps that are manufactured as sex toys.
Mm,
There is a much higher degree of quality and management involved when a pump is produced as a medical device. And really, they all should by law, by the way.
yeah.
There are
I mean,
just a lot of companies out there.
like you say, you only get one penis in a lifetime. Like, I wouldn't want to risk it to something that I didn't know what
Exactly.
I was doing.
Exactly. So you want a high quality pump with the gauge, with the right size. So those are the few most important things that someone should look for when they buy a pump. As far as my pumps, I've tried 39 pumps before designing and making my latest model, which you
What?
got.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's super
Wow.
easy to use. It's completely automated. You just set the pressure and you're good. Like the
And off
pump
you
will
go.
go to that pressure. If it drops because your penis grows in the tube and the pressure drops, it will just pump again to get to that pressure. So
Yep.
it's super easy to use. Um, Again, I tried 39 pumps. So
Wow.
I've made sure that every weakness of any pump out there
Yeah.
is addressed. This is the
Okay.
perfect pump.
That's
And
great.
besides that, another important benefit why my pump is the best is that it comes with PumpSmart, the tracking app.
Oh, yeah.
So pumping regularly will get you the benefits, but it's very easy to not remain motivated over time. And
Yeah.
and that's mainly because the progression of benefits happens very incrementally, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
progression. You see some results immediately; those results are temporary. Then you see some more results. A few weeks in, you get slightly more rigid erections. It's a little quicker to get an erection. You get a little more morning wood, but you have to get to that point, right? And so it's very important to track your results.
Yeah.
So my pumps come with this wellness app called Pump Smart, where men, log their pump sessions and
Yeah.
erection performance metrics like size, rigidity, and
Awesome.
sensitivity. Yeah, thank you. And there's one more thing actually that is um, unheard of. So when I tried those 39 pumps, one of the things I did, I didn't just try the product itself. I really want to get a complete picture of things. So I actually called pump companies and just tried to have a conversation to see what is the experience like as a customer,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And I can tell you that about a third of them I couldn't get anyone on the phone, and the other two-thirds could help me with basic stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like if you called a company of any product, okay, in a general sense, where is my order? Um, my product broke. Is there warranty? Things like that, right? They could help me with that to various degrees. Some are better than others,
Yeah.
right? Some wants a replacement. The ones who did, yeah, I got a replacement. But the one universal truth here is that not a single company could help me with knowledge about pumps, right? So you can call and ask questions. Am I pumping right?
Right.
Right? Am I doing it right? Or um, this is my routine. Or is the pressure too high, too low? And not only I couldn't get that kind of feedback, but also the instructions that came with the pump
Yeah.
didn't have that, right?
What?
Which is why I called,
Yeah.
right?
I think so.
I'm like, where what pressure do I use it on? For how long? All they say is put it on and pump. It's like I need more than that as a customer.
Sure.
So I call in and no one is there to help me with that. And I thought
Wow.
that was an absolutely horrible customer experience. Like this would not fly with any other product. Can you
No.
imagine calling a company for any product and not
I
being
mean,
able to have
right,
decent customer
especially
service?
given the sensitive nature of said product, you would think that there would be explicit instructions. And what I know, since I've been
Right.
using your pumps and my partner's been using the penis pump, I'm using the lady pump. Yeah, your product comes with instructions and it's very easy to use, very easy to clean, very not, I mean, there's that initial like, oh my gosh, and then, but it's so easy. Step by step is there. And once you get the hang of it, it's literally just press a button and go. And yeah,
Exactly.
I had a great experience with your customer service team as well.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't know that.
yeah, we had a
Do tell.
the charger was doing something weird on my partner's pump, and so I
Mm.
just reached out and like immediately, like within a couple days, we had a
Oh, you're breaking up?
the one that wasn't working, the charger sent back so you could explore and see, like, what's going on with this to
Mhm.
ensure that it's not something systemic. I don't know, but that's
Yeah.
cool too. You actually care about your product research and the quality of the product to the extent that not only would you take care of a customer right away, but let's find out what happened with that one piece because I don't think that's a normal thing for you guys, but every now and then you get something weird that goes on. So, yeah, let's take a look at that one and see what happens so we can assure that that doesn't happen to someone else, and I just was really impressed by that, so, you definitely are dialing it in on all the levels, I think. Um,
Thank you, and I want you to know that this is something that every customer of ours benefit from. This is not something that we pick and choose the bigger customers or,
yeah,
just you because we're doing this collab. No, our this is company policy. Okay, this kind of not strategy, but this comes from the top. Basically,
yeah,
this is how I put customers first. Basically, right? And my goal is for customers who bought our product to pump. You have no
yeah,
idea how many times customers call in and they're past the warranty, and I told my employees I don't care.
yeah.
We want to keep people
Oh,
pumping.
that's awesome.
So this mindset and this policy comes from the very top, and yeah, we want our customers to really get the benefits
Yeah,
out of their pump.
which
And
is
I'm
also
so glad you experienced it, and I'm
yeah,
so glad
it
that
is.
you're telling this to me. I love hearing that kind of feedback.
Yeah, and you really stand by it. It's very values
Mhm.
driven, and I think that's a rare thing in this arena, unfortunately. And so you're definitely setting yourselves apart, which also is why I brought you on this show because I only want to bring in the best of the best,
Thank you.
and to bring in things that I've personally experienced and can personally recommend. And since using the pumps, I've been impressed, and it's been a wonderful tool that I just want more people to know about this. So let's let our subscribers and listeners here know, Sam, where can they find out more if people want to hook up with one of these things?
Oh, so actually, right before, I just want to add that, um, beside warranty and exchanges or things like that, everyone who answers the phone have been using a pump for at least a year, and
Oh,
so
cool. Okay.
yeah, they're male enhancement coaches. They're
Ex-
there to not just give you general product answers, but also um, help you out with questions on how to pump, how often, what
That
pressure.
is
If you're
amazing.
not seeing results, I want you to email, chat, call in. That's
Okay.
what we're here for,
Well,
right?
that's probably a really fun employee orientation then.
It is. We're like a big family, in our
Yeah.
office. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, and as far as, where everyone can find everything, they can go to my website, getbiggernow.com.
Okay.
They can find everything about pumps. It's more men-oriented, admittedly,
Yeah.
but, I'll make sure that they can find the lady pump. I'm pretty sure it's there, but I'll double check.
Get
Yeah,
Bigger Now. So it's getbiggernow.com. That's the I think the lady pumps are at ladypump.com, I think. I'm gonna
the lady pump.
it's the lady pump. Because I
Yes.
feel like I was on the Get Bigger Now, and I don't remember. Maybe they are on there, but the lady pump is for the women out there, and that's a beautiful website too. It's a little bit more feminine and woman oriented. So yeah, if you like that shopping experience, um, so it's the lady pump, and then Get Bigger Now for the men's pump. Do you see it on there? The lady pump is also on getbiggernow.com.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. It's actually not, but it will
Ah,
be in
it
about
should be.
20 minutes.
Okay, in 20 minutes. Get bigger now. Well, Sam, thank you so much for being my guest here on the Shooting the Shit with Susan deep dive. It's been lovely to have Mr. Get Bigger Now. Talking about the penis pumps, the lady pumps, everything pumping. You're definitely like the go-to expert, and you just produce a really solid product. And so I'm really grateful for your time today and just sharing your great stories and just this great education on these pumps. So thank you so much, Sam, for being here with me.
Thank you so much for having me, Susan. And I just want to add, if anyone has any questions, they can also contact me on social media. It's at Mr. Get Bigger Now. Pretty easy.
Great. Pretty easy to remember. Well, thank you, Sam. And everybody else, women out there, just one more plug for my course coming up on women's sexual vitality at midlife and beyond. We've got the Pleasure Revival Experience that's where I'm gonna teach you how to maintain or regain what you've lost at midlife and beyond when it comes to your sexual vitality. So if you're a woman who's experiencing some of what Sam and I talked about, dryness, atrophy, challenges with sensitivity or orgasm, I'm teaching you a holistic path to get some of that back or not lose what you already have using what you've already got, a vagina. No more pills or products needed for that. And you can find out more about that at susanmorgantaylor.com/revival. Enrollment's open for just the next few days and we start next week. So head on over there if that interests you. And then definitely check out the pumps at getbiggernow.com. Thank you again so much, Sam, for being my guest. And thank you, everybody who's here, who's showing up live. If you have not yet subscribed to Shooting the Shit with Susan, be sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Make sure you
Go
like this
smash it.
video. Go smash it, baby. Smash it. No, we want to pump it. That subscribe button and also leave a comment. Let us know what you thought. If you have questions about anything we talked about, drop it down there in the comments. It really helps, again, to normalize this conversation. It helps other people who are going to be watching this replay. And either myself or Sam will be sure to respond to those questions. And we just love to get the education out there. And you don't need to be intimidated around pumps. It's easy, it's fun, and it is safe. And again, thank you so much, Mr. Get Bigger Now, for helping to get the word out here on today's deep dive. We'll be back usually Wednesdays. I'm looking at doing these deep dives, so I'll bring a different expert on each week to shoot the shit with me on some topic. What do y'all want to hear about? Drop it in the comments. Jump into our thread or DM me. Let me know the topics you'd like me to shoot the shit with you on, and I'll be sure to get a really fun guest on to have that conversation with us. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you again, Sam, and we'll see you all next time. Now go get it on.